Filters, 4 pillars of communication. Making hay when the sun is shining. Filters, 4 pillars of communication. I did a write-up years ago, SMCS primer, shoot, move, communicate, sustain primer. And I highlight the importance of the 4 pillars of communication. That's where you start. And with 5 years and 4,000 lessons, that's a basic one. If you were a former intelligence sergeant and you actually narrowed it down to the cause of many relationship malfunctions, it's because one or both parties fail to follow the 4 pillars of communication, and they both make assumptions and have delusion bubbles of who the other person is. I've seen a couple comedy skits on that with texting where one person's getting mad, right, and the other person's happy. With the written form, a lot of studies will say only 7% of communication comes through versus the 93% that you fill in the blank. And many of us, I would say probably all of us that own a phone, have either sent a text or received a text and taken it or been taken the wrong way, right? Well, if people refuse to follow that, why? Because they don't value the relationship. That's the fact. They don't care about your time. They don't care about it. They don't care about the cause and effect of you. And they certainly aren't trying to be a brother operating excellence in the relationship because they want to control it. I emote, I post, I'm done. Oh. So maintaining the delusion bubble, the false image that people are something they're not, becomes way more important to them than the actual meat world. The person on the other end of the Babylonian rectangle of death, that's more important to them than the real relationship. So then how are they operating? Oftentimes those who can't do teach. Isn't that the case? They can't do. It's like the people who got introduced to land navigation for the first time and have yet to find one grid, and they want to run classes on teaching navigation. Isn't that silly? Why? Because the real enemy, propaganda, inactivity, pride, and ego. And the worst type of propaganda is the propaganda you tell yourself. Making someone else to be something they're not, putting men in that approval authority, which they do not belong. Approval should be from the Father above, not from men on below. Men on below is accountability. How do you love your neighbor as yourself? Well, accountability. And if your neighbor says, hey, you're not loving me, well, why? Because you're assuming I'm something I'm not. You're not following the 4 pillars of communication with me. Well, then I just need to destroy the relationship. Are you kidding me? Well, then you didn't value it in the first place. Remember that movie, Outlaw Josie Wells? You know, don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining. You can put all the flowery words on paper that you want. But at the end of the day, if you don't use the 4 pillars of communication, you don't allow for the other person to brief back or to say if they got you right or if they understand it, you don't value it. It's not conversation. Control freaks and narcissists do that. Now, if you haven't warned them, well, then you're the control freak. If you have warned them, and I've had this happen with many people in my life. They take something I say the wrong way, especially with social media. And then they have a emotional meltdown. And I'm like, no. Your false image of who you think I am is wrong. So in order to put a gate and a filter in, use the 4 pillars of communication. Here's the time window. And after a month, if they don't do it at all, I'm like, well, then they're just going to emote. Because the delusion bubble and them playing God in the relationship with control is more important to them than the actual factual relationship. You need people, yeah, but you need the right people in your life. You need brothers operating excellence in relationship. If you're using filters to keep the bad people out, what's to keep you from keeping the good people out? Well, filters in and of themselves can be an excuse to just be an a-hole, isn't it? Oh, did you stop, look, listen, smell? How does that impact the other person? The 4 pillars of communication, and I'm going to quote someone who went by the moniker Muddy Boots. Communication is a survival skill and a dying art. I was a communication sergeant, amongst other things. The 4 pillars of communication. The transmission, the message, the receiving station, and the QSO. What's missing? The QSO, I got it. You send a letter in the mail. Do you know that they got it? Did they ever get it? Do you even care? Not if it's like fire and forget, right? What is that then? Do you really have a relationship? Or are you just trying to seize control? Is the delusion of what you think it is more important than the facts of what it really is? Facts, not feelings. Like here in YouTube. I emote, I post, I'm done. That's the social media bandwagon. Pipe smoke, that's the enemy I've been talking about since day one. Shoot, move, communicate, sustain. Well, if you can't sustain communications, you have a one-way conversation and it's like yelling down the hallway. Be a brother operating excellence in a relationship. Don't use filters as an excuse to be a control freak and a narcissist. Maybe we'll see you soon. Shalom.